Hello, my name is Mike Perry, Senior SFG and StrongFirst Elite, and today I'm going to show you how to achieve your first pistol squat. The first step to achieving your pistol squat is improving your hip mobility and your ankle mobility, and we're going to do that by using a variation of a prying goblet squat. So we're going to grab a light kettlebell anywhere between 8 kilograms and 12 kilograms, and I'm going to take you through a little progression that I use to prepare my body for pistols. We're going to grab that kettlebell by the horns and we're going to go into a nice deep squat. Once we get into this position, I want to get as tall as possible and I want to drive my elbows to the inside of my VMOs, and we're going to push those knees out to create some space at the hips. Once we do that, we're going to do a couple things. One, we're going to pivot side to side and we're going to try to create some space in our hips. Now, depending on your hip mobility, you may be able to move a little bit more or a little bit less. So we're going to spend some time just prying in this bottom position. In addition to that, we're going to mobilize the ankles. So we're going to do that by weight shifting onto our left leg, and that's not all of my weight, but it's a good percentage of my weight. And then we're going to do the same thing on the opposite side. And we're just going to weight shift side to side to open up those ankles. Now, when you're weight shifting to mobilize the ankles, make sure that the heels are glued to the floor, and also you're driving your knees over the center of your foot, maybe around your third or fourth toe. So those two drills are perfect to get your body prepared to hit that pistol squat. So the next step is understanding how weight shifting and using the kettlebell as a counterbalance can influence your overall squat posture and your overall positioning of your spine. So we're going to grab that light kettlebell. We're going to get into that deep goblet squat position, but this time we're going to bring our feet a little bit closer together. Now, once we get into that deep squat position with our feet a little bit more narrow, we're going to weight shift. We're going to weight shift forward, so our weight is towards our toes, and then we're going to weight shift backwards, so our weight is towards our heels. And we're just going to focus on weight shifting back and forth. Now, when we do this, as we weight shift forward, make sure that your heels don't come off the ground like this. And when you weight shift backwards, make sure that you don't fall over. So that's step number one of the weight shifting. Now we're going to use the kettlebell as a counterbalance, because using the kettlebell as a counterbalance and the timing in which we move the kettlebell is going to allow us to nail that first pistol. So if I push the kettlebell away from me, you'll notice I can get a lot more vertical with my spine. It's just an overall a better position for the spine. But as I bring that kettlebell towards me, I'm going to have to hinge more. I'm going to have to fold over a little bit more. So it's going to look like this. As I bring it towards me, you're going to notice I have to come forward a little bit. So I can weight shift backwards and I can weight shift forwards. Understanding how to weight shift and how to use the counterbalance of the kettlebell is going to be key to achieving your first pistol squat. Now we're going to focus on owning the deep squat, but this deep squat's going to be a little different. We're going to focus on a deep squat with our feet together or within 1 to 2 inches of one another. So we start by doing our regular goblet squat, but we're going to incrementally narrow our stance. It's going to look like this. We drop down nice and low, and we bring our feet a little bit closer together. And when we're doing this, guys, I want you to weight shift a little bit. I want you to feel the position and bring your feet a little bit closer together. Eventually, our goal is to get the elbows to the outside of the knees, get our feet as close together as possible, and then own this position. This feet together deep squat position is vital to owning the pistol squat, so make sure that you're comfortable here. You're going to pry back and forth a little bit, and don't be surprised if your anterior tibialis, these muscles in your shin, really light up because maybe they haven't been acclimated to this type of load. So you're probably going to get a little bit of sensation of those muscles firing, but it's not a big deal. So again, own that feet together deep squat, and then the next step is going to be understanding how to swing that leg through to own the bottom position of the pistol. Once you've owned that feet together deep squat, now it's time to focus on practicing the bottom portion of the pistol squat. So we're going to grab that light kettlebell and we're going to go into that feet together deep squat. We've talked about this earlier, but this is where weight shifting is going to play a role. So in order to create enough space to slide my leg through, I'm going to have to weight shift backwards and lift the kettlebell slightly. When I do that, I'm going to create enough space to slide my leg through, and it's going to look like this. You're going to come on up, sniff in some air, brace. You can take a little bit of a break as needed, and we're going to do the opposite side. Now you can do 2 on one side or you can alternate, it doesn't matter, but regardless, remember, we're going to weight shift slightly backwards. We're going to elevate the kettlebell, and we're going to slide that other leg through. And then you can alternate and practice as needed. So this drill specifically is going to take a lot of tension and a lot of energy. So do a couple sets, stand up, do a little fast and loose, and then get back to that bottom position and practice shooting that leg through. Now we're going to focus on the eccentric portion of the pistol, and this is how most people will attempt the pistol or train the pistol. So I want you to pay attention to the overall posture because that is a key to achieving that first pistol. So I'm going to grab that light kettlebell, the same one I've been using for all of those preparatory drills. I'm going to have my feet nice and close together. I'm going to go into a deep hinge, but when I'm in that deep hinge position, there's a couple things I'm going to focus on. Elbows are going to be glued to the rib cage, and I also want to get as small as possible. I want to crunch my abdominals, bringing my rib cage towards my pelvis. That is key to owning that bottom position. It's going to look like this. Elbows are glued to the ribs. Okay, I'm going to go into that deep hinge. I'm actually going to get to the point where my stomach is actually touching my thighs. Now from here, I'm going to bring my knees forward to utilize that ankle mobility. I basically want to get as small as possible in this position. Now this is where the timing is super important because in order to kick a leg through, I'm going to have to elevate the kettlebell and weight shift slightly backwards. Weight shift slightly backwards. Okay? Now I'm going to do it on one leg. So I'm going to get set up. I'm going to be in that single leg stance. I'm going to get nice and small. And then as I lift the kettlebell upwards, I'm going to shoot the leg through. And then from here, I'm going to shake out the tension, and I'm going to repeat on the opposite side. So that is the timing, and next we're going to teach you how to get out of the hole and finish the pistol squat. We've just done a whole bunch of drills to own the bottom portion of that pistol. We've even showed you how to get down and descend into that bottom position, but the last step is getting back up. A couple things I want you to focus on. One, crush the handle of the kettlebells, okay? Use that irradiation. Two, before you ascend to the top position, I want you to sniff in some air through your nose. I want you to pressurize your abdominals, and you can let out a little grunt or a little hiss before you get to the top position, and it's going to look like this. I'm going to get down the same way I just showed you. Do one on the other side. Same thing. So there you have it, a full progression on how to nail your first pistol squat.